Making a piece of artwork is like baking a cake. The elements are like the ingredients and the principles are like the recipe. Every piece of artwork contains one, some, or all of these elements and principles. When you understand that and combine the two objectives in the right way, you can produce great art. The elements of art are line, shape, form, value, color, space, and texture. In this video, we will look to understand what the elements of art are and how to use them. What is the definition of a line? A line is a continuous mark on a page or any other surface, using a drawing tool such as a pen, pencil, or brush. There are many things we can do with lines. We can use lines to create an outline of something, to show movement, to show mood, and repeated lines create patterns. Here are some examples. As we can see, the outline of an object is called a contour. So here we look at the lines that we can use to show movement. We have some little wavy lines. We have some spiral type lines. We've got the lines in our branch all leaning to a side. And to show movement in our car, we have the little puffy lines coming out of the exhaust. And to show that the light is on, we have the short little lines in front. Lines can also be used to show us mood. Have a look at the flowers. The first flower is really happy. His face is shining up to the sun, and we can see that by the little lines that are on the side of him. The flower next to him is very sad. Look at how the lines slope and bend. The fist, the sharp lines in the fist show that anger. So do the sharp lines on the face. Let's have a look at the frown lines, the sharp nose, and the pointed downturned mouth. That in contrast to the round eyes, the smiley face, the little round nose, we can see the difference in the emotion in those two faces. When we use repeated lines, we create patterns. So have a look at how lines are used here to create those four patterns. Here we've used lines to describe the words. So if you have a look at the lazy line that goes around the word lazy, the bold line around bold, the light line around the word light, the dotted line around the word broken, the sharp points for the energetic line, the slightly curved round for the shy, the dark line for the dark, the twirly whirly line for the continuous, the very bendable flexible line for flexible, and the rigid lines for rigid. And here are a few other examples of different kind of lines for you to have a look at. Let's look at shapes. What is the definition of a shape? A shape is a 2D or two-dimensional area bordered by edges or an outline. These shapes are the same geometric shapes that we learn about in our math lessons. Circles, squares, rectangles, ovals, diamonds, a star, pentagon, hexagon, octagon, semicircle, heart, and crescent. By using these shapes singularly or on their own or more than one shape together, we form pictures. Geometric shapes remind us of human-made or mechanical objects. Look around you. What shapes do you see just inside your room or wherever you're sitting? Your door, the shape of your floor, your windows. What shape is your ceiling? The fence outside your home, the clock, the fridge, the tiles on the walls. These are all shapes around us. Let's have a quick look at this picture of simple shapes. We have a square. Inside our square we have a circle, and inside our circle we have a triangle for the middle of our clock. We have rectangles for the arms of the clock, two triangles for the pointers, and then we have our clock. If we have a look at our bicycle, we have circles for the wheels and the tires. We have a triangle for part of the frame. We have a semicircle for our handlebars, a triangle for our seat, and our pedals are little rectangles as well. We also get organic shapes, And these shapes have natural edges and have no specific names. They remind us of the natural world where shapes and objects are usually irregular. They're uneven and they're always changing. And most of them have curved shapes. Let's have a look at these organic shapes. The shapes of our leaves, the flowers, the clouds in the sky, the variety of different leaves on the trees, the mountains, and even our rivers. The definition of form is a 3D or three-dimensional shape that has height, width, and thickness. When we use this in our art, it gives our artwork depth and perspective. We also learn about forms in our mathematics classes, and our examples are spheres, cubes, cylinders, cones, pyramids, and others. Just as with our shapes, both our geometric and our organic shapes, when we put our forms together, we can also create pictures and sculptures. Let's have a look at some simple examples. Our ice cream is a cone and two spheres. The pyramid, as you know and can see, is a pyramid. And of course here we have a diamond ring using the diamond shape. Let's talk about value. Value is the lightness or the darkness of a color or hue. A shade is a hue produced by adding black. When we use a color and add black, the value of the color or hue gets darker. A tint is a hue produced by adding white. The value of the color gets lighter. When using our different shading techniques, we shade our value from light to dark or vice versa. Value adds texture, dimension, proportion, and contrast to our pictures. It also changes our 2D shapes into 3D forms. Let's talk about color. Color is created when light strikes an object and the image and light is reflected back to the eye. We have three primary colors: red, blue, and yellow. They're called primary colors because primary means first colors or the most important colors. These colors are the first colors because you cannot use any other colors to make them. The secondary colors are called secondary because we use our primary colors to make our secondary colors. And these secondary colors are purple, green, and orange. We mix red and blue together to create our purple, yellow and blue together to create green, and yellow and red together to create orange. Tertiary colors are made by mixing our primary and our secondary colors together. When referring to colors in art, you can say, what is the hue? And that means what is the color's name? What color is that? Complementary colors complement each other, just as it says. They make each other look good and brighter. And these are the colors opposite each other on the color wheel. Colors are divided into two. We get our warm colors, the reds, yellows, and oranges that reminds us of the warm sun, and our cool colors, purple, blues, and greens, which remind us of water or rivers. A monochromatic color scheme is made up of one hue or color plus our tinting, our toning together. Let's see how we use space in our art. So first of all, space is described as the distances or the areas around, between, and within the image of your picture. Space also tells us how much of the page we've used up. It shows us perspective, that images are getting smaller and smaller in the distance. It deals with images that are overlapping on our pages. And we also get positive and negative space. Positive spaces is usually describing the space used for the drawing, and the negative space is the space around the drawing. However, in this magic picture, the positive space is the two faces with the negative space between them. If you change your focus and look very carefully at the negative space, it becomes a candlestick. Now the candlestick is the positive space and the faces become the negative space. Now we're going to look at texture. Texture is used by artists to show how something may look, feel, or to show what it is made of. Let's have a look at these pictures and see how using shading or our art elements we can create the feel or look of a surface. By using short curvy lines, we've created the look of a soft curly hair. If we look at the skin on the face, there are no blemishes. It gives the impression of being smooth. However, look at the cat. The short, strong lines create the cat's fur and give a texture of also feeling soft. When we go to the tiles, the squares, if you have a look, there's a light shading in there. That's to give a sort of a smooth but not completely smooth texture. The walls, the dots on the walls create a little bit of a rough look and make us feel that if we ran our hand along the wall, we'd feel those prickles of a wall. The duster, the feathers, they're soft. By using short, sharp lines, it gives the feathery look, and we imagine that if we touch the duster, it would be soft. When we look at the wood and the glass, there are two boxes that are the same, two rectangles that are the same. But to make the glass, we just used a few light lines, and that gives the impression that that's see-through. However, with the wood, we used little circular and straight, uneven lines to create the look of the wood. When we go down to the cacti, we've used lines, also not straight, perfectly straight, and little sharp, short lines to create the prickles. And the thought of hugging that cacti or touching it does not appeal to me. We have two trees here. The top tree, we've used tiny little circles for leaves, and we've used the scribbling shading for the leaves on the second tree. Both give different looks and the feel of different textures. If we go to the fish, we've used the bump pattern that you did in grade 1 or 2, and that gives us the feel and the look of scales. If we come down to the rough cloth, using those little very thin lines very close together and also not straight, it gives the appearance of a roughly woven cloth, and the little pieces of thread hanging out shows that it's unfinished. It's not a neat piece of material. When looking down at our broom bristles, they're short, they're sharp, they're quite even, and they look like that broom is a softish broom but will do a good job. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial and understand how we use our elements of art.